Hi everyone, welcome to Live Darts. We're here at the Unibet Premier League media launch and we've got PDC Chief Exec Matt Paul with us. Matt, thanks for joining us for just a quick chat today.
No problem.
Hot topic of conversation, we're going to go straight into it, the Contenders idea. First of all, was it a blow to lose Gary for the tournament?
Of course, yeah. You know, Gary's one of the top players, one of the most recognisable players, one of the most popular players. So of course it's a blow to lose him, but ultimately, you know, the long-term protection, if you like, of Gary's career is the most important thing, and he can't risk anything that would potentially cause long-term damage to his back. So, on balance, probably made the right decision, and we wish him a speedy recovery.
Obviously, this has been talked about since the Worlds. Has there been a contingency plan talked about since the Worlds, or is it only a very recent thing that it's come together?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was always in the background that it's possible at any point that something could happen to any player that could make them pull out. You know, so it was something that came about start of last week when we were told by Gilmore, his manager, that he wouldn't be able to play in the Masters, but that he would, you know, see how things were over the next couple of days to see if there was any improvement to give him a chance of making the Premier League line.
The Contenders idea, how did that come about, or was it a tough one? Was there, like, it could be him as a straight replacement, or was the straight replacement ruled out quite early?
I think if you look at the 10 players who we picked originally, they were the 10 players who picked up a trophy on TV last year. Now people could argue about the merits of some of the tournaments compared to others, but regardless of that, they were the 10 players who won a senior PDC title on TV in 2018. So they were the 10 that were picked, but maybe we didn't take the opportunity to mix things up as much as we have done in previous years when we selected that 10. So this gave us an opportunity, more by chance than planning, to do that. There wasn't necessarily an obvious candidate. There wasn't somebody who was on fantastically good form from the other sort of top 16 players, if you like, who you could say, look, he's an automatic choice. And there will be players who feel aggrieved, of course there are. Being in the Premier League is a massive thing, and it's something that players strive for all year round. But ultimately we have to make a decision that protects the event and looks after the future of the event and the sport as well. And the decision we've made certainly created a lot of conversation, it's created a lot of interest, it will create a lot of opportunities for players who, let's face it, a lot of these guys that we've put in are going to be in the Premier League in the future. It's just a question of when. So this is an audition, this is a chance to step up onto the big stage and say, look, I'm ready. I've done this on the Pro Tour, I've done a few things on TV, and I'm ready to move forward. So we're going to throw them into the spotlight. It's only one night, so if it goes particularly wrong for them, it's something they can learn from, something they won't be hugely damaged by. It's not like we're throwing somebody in for all 9 weeks, and we've seen it in the past where players have maybe played like 8 or 9 games or whatever and had a particularly bad record. It's taken them 2, 3, 4 years to recover from that. In some cases, never recover from that. The Premier League's a brutal place to be. Up there in front of 10,000 people getting beaten by one of the elite players in the world is not a pleasant place to be week in, week out. And we didn't want to risk the progression of some of our younger talent by doing that, but we still wanted to give them the opportunity to have that moment in the spotlight. So I mean, there's obviously a couple of players who perhaps don't fit into that younger category, but John Henderson is a massive hero in Aberdeen, and he's also probably our only player from anywhere near Aberdeen. And Glenn Durrant, three-time BDO world champion, come over, won his tour card. He's known by a huge number of people because of his exploits in the BDO. He's a popular player. He's taken the plunge, so he's going to get a chance for one night as well. And the others are all players who are in their 20s and are looking like being stars of the future.
Where it was called Contenders as well, and it's for one night only, did that rule out some of the senior pros to come in for one night?
Yeah, I think it probably wouldn't have been appropriate to invite some of the senior players to come in for one night. I think that would have been potentially a little bit disrespectful to them, to look at them and say, look, we've not selected you for the whole thing, but would you mind doing one night for no real reason? You know, some of those senior guys, they don't really need one night. It's not going to benefit them. You know, they're either in or they're out. You know, and for most of them, they'll be looking at it hopefully thinking, all right, I'll prove you wrong, I'll get back in next year, I'm right. And good luck to them. We want players to do that. We always say to players, there is no reason why we don't want you to be at the best of your game. We want every player to be playing as best as they can do. And there's some of the top players at the moment in that top 16, top 20 bracket who aren't perhaps firing on all cylinders. So we want them to have a better year perhaps this year than they did last year and come back and prove us wrong.
If this is a huge success, could it be here to stay, where you only pick 9 and then you do the Contenders every year?
Don't know. Maybe. Not saying yes, not saying no. It's probably too early to suggest that at the moment. Let's take stock of that once we've seen how it goes. You know, we've always adapted the format of the Premier League every few years anyway. In the past, you know, we've expanded it from the original 7 players to 8 to 10, brought in eliminations, different things gone overseas with it. So the Premier League's always evolved. It's not been the same since 2005 as it is today. So let's just wait and see how that progresses.
You touched on Glenn as well. Obviously, I know you're huge on social media. You follow everything. All the polls, people wanted to see Glenn. So that's a huge popularity thing as well. And it's great for him to. We've all seen him produce on Lakeside. Now it's a case of can he do it on the biggest stage of all?
They did want to see Glenn Durrant. A lot of people did. But in the same vein as well, it would be disrespectful to all of our current players if we'd have just parachuted a new player in directly for an invite. We maybe did that in the past, perhaps when there was a little bit more equality between the two champions, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean the fact that our event is now significantly larger than the Lakeside event, and that's pretty indisputable. And I think it would have been a little bit disrespectful to the other 127 tour card holders if we'd have just said, oh, this new fella here has just come in and parachuted over all of you and taken a place. So we've given him one night because we totally respect his decision to come over. We think he's a smashing fella. We're delighted he's got a tour card, and fair play to him, he's taken the plunge and said, I want to test myself against the best in the world. But I think if we'd have gone the whole hog, it would have been a little bit over the top.
Well, I suppose this is elevated from the World Series, because I'm guessing some of the players that we've seen in the contenders would be talked about for World Series as an audition as well. So I'm guessing it's just speeded the process up a little bit.
It has. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter whether the audition is in Newcastle or Melbourne. You know, it's a point of saying, right, you're in with the big boys now. You've got an opportunity to impress. You've got an opportunity to show as you're professional. There's a media day here today. We've got a big room full of press today, so they've got to conduct themselves properly. You know, Chris Dobie's here today. He looks the part. He's an articulate lad. He's a lovely guy. You know, so he's learning about being a top dart player. He lives 5 minutes away. We've made him come and stay in the hotel because that's what the other players do. You know, you've got to be professional if you want to act on that level. So whether it's the World Series or the Premier League or World Series finals is another one where we've invited young players into in the past. It doesn't really matter.
Matt, we'll let you go on and say just a quick chat about the contenders because it was so topical, like the PDC point of view. How
no problem.
Thanks very much for joining us. As always,
Thanks,
mate. Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Thanks.